CityTalk, where we interview city employees to assure you, the human being at home, that we actually work for a living, which is, believe it or not, actually true. Say hello to the new Chief Operating Officer for the City of Pittsburgh, working out of the Mayor's office, Kinsey Casey. Kinsey, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, when I talked to you a bit before we went on, you mentioned that you have two first names.
I do, yeah.
Would you rather have it be Casey Kinsey, or do you like the Kinsey Casey?
I like the Kinsey Casey.
Okay.
It's because my parents are hippies and they wanted my initials to be Casey, because my last name is
Casey.
Casey.
Okay.
So I'm Kinsey and not Lindsay.
But did they like Kansas City, or did they like Casey and the Sunshine Band? Or?
They probably did, but yeah, no. It's just because my initials were Casey.
All right, well, good, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell on this too long. So tell us where you're from, how you ended up evolving into both work in public service and political campaigns.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Montana, from the great capital of Helena, Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually where I got interested in politics to begin with. My third grade class had a bill in the legislature, and I was like, the only girl that went up with my little sandwich board on, and I testified. And so that's when I started to get interested in public service.
Did the bill pass?
It did.
Awesome.
Yeah, it had a bunch of third graders lobbying for it, so it was pretty hard to vote against it.
Do you think if it wouldn't have passed, you would have become disinterested and gone a different
destroyed.
path?
Destroyed. No.
All right, so then what then?
So then, in high school, I had a very inspiring government teacher that sort of kept me interested. And when I went to college, all the classes I happened to be interested in fell under political science or history. While I was in college, I did a lot of interning, including some political campaigns. And so when I graduated, I went to New Hampshire, which seemed like a good place to go when you want to work in politics. And I worked on a Senate race up there, and then kept going from there and did a number of campaigns.
All right, and then how did you get back into government?
So finally, I won an election in 2008 when President Obama was elected. And of course, like everyone else who worked on the campaign and worked that cycle, we all moved to Washington not knowing what was going to happen and if we were going to get a job. I was fortunate enough to get to work for Secretary Napolitano, who was then the Secretary of Homeland Security.
So that's a huge responsibility, obviously. How was that?
It was amazing. She is wonderful. I loved working for her. So I traveled around with her for 3 years. And I thought, we'll travel to some of the border states, some of the states I hadn't gone to in campaigns. And I ended up traveling to 23 different countries with her, too.
So this was a whole new world, I would assume.
Whole new world for me.
Not just New Hampshire, but the entire world, literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great.
Any memories of any particular country that struck you?
We have so many stories. We had a really great time traveling, but I enjoyed traveling to the Middle East quite a bit just because it's a very different culture, and I learned a lot there. I did have one interesting trip to Abuja in Nigeria. Remember when the underwear bomber tried to blow up the plane
Mm-hmm.
around Christmas time? I was in Afghanistan during that time because the secretary was going to come and obviously didn't. And then right after I got home, they sent me to Abuja, which is where the underwear bomber originated. And obviously we were going to try to help them with some of their security features.
Wow.
But it involved things
like,
my job was advanced, so I was there ahead of time. And literally my job was like, you go to the airport and you figure out where your plane is going to park because it's a government and military plane. And you figure out how the cars are going to pull into the tarmac. Very straightforward, easy meetings until you go to an airport where the whole entire reason of the visit is because somebody went through the airport and made it through security with an underwear in his, or a bomb in his underwear.
Right.
And so my meeting was with a bunch of Nigerian generals and me and my State Department counterpart in the Secret Service. Mm-hmm. And they were like, "Why are we on the watch list?" And I was like, I was just here to figure out where we're parking the plane. There are some other officials coming next week who are going to talk to you a little bit more about that. But
so there are a lot of human moments amid all this important stuff.
Yes, it was fascinating.
Now then you also spent some time in the State Department?
I did. I spent 3 years at the Department of Homeland Security, and then I had 2 years at the White House, and then 3 years at the 2 years at the State Department.
And what did you do at the White House?
At the White House, I was the National Security Director for Presidential Personnel, which is all the political appointments in the national security-related agencies, so everything from the Pentagon to the Peace Corps.
So you're helping find people and vet them?
Correct. So both recruiting people who are very well qualified for the position and then vetting them before they take that position.
Where was your office in the White House?
Oh, good question. So little known fact, the building next to the White House is called the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, or the EEOB. It used to be the old Executive Office Building, or the OEOB. So it depends on which administration official you're talking to, what they call it. But it's the building next to the White House. It's where most of the White House staff work. And little known fact, there's a 5th floor of that building. There's a library up there and a bunch of offices that you can't really stand up straight in.
Seriously?
Yeah, I worked basically in a closet. It was a delight.
You
and I
mean you
shared
have
it
to
with 3
hunch
other people.
over to walk to your
it's
desk?
just slanty ceilings, like all the Pittsburgh roofs that are
Yeah.
really, that's basically.
Like an attic?
Correct.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
where I worked, yeah. My
So-
husband worked on the 4th floor, so I always said I worked upstairs.
But that was also an awesome responsibility, I'm sure, vetting all those people and just working in the White House.
It was, yeah. It was an amazing experience.
You probably didn't get much access to the president that often, I would assume that.
Well, it depends. In that particular job, I did not. My job was to write him a lot of memos in terms of like who we suggested for different political appointments or vet the candidates that he had himself recommended. When I was doing advance, which is sort of traveling ahead of them and setting up all of the requirements and events before they get there, I did see him during those trips. Same with the vice president. So I got to do that. That was more of like
Was that a little
side
bit,
gig.
oh my goodness, it's the vice president, oh my goodness, it's the president?
Absolutely, and there's a whole show that goes along with them when it comes to security and the plane and the communications guys. There's a lot of things that go along with traveling with the president.
How about that? So after that, then what?
So after I was in the White House for a couple of years, I then moved over to the State Department under Secretary Kerry.
And your duties there involved?
I was the Chief of Staff for the Secretary's Office of Global Partnerships, which is the public-private partnerships in the State Department.
Sounds like another huge responsibility.
It was really fun. So we worked with some big companies. We did the vetting for the entire State Department for any companies that wanted to partner with the State Department to make sure that there weren't any red flags that could cause embarrassment to the department or be problematic. And then we got to do really fun projects.
That's an amazing resume. All right, so how did you end up in Pittsburgh, PA?
My husband is originally from here. And we actually were both in the White House together, and he was reaching burnout and wanted to look at other opportunities, and so he wanted to move home. I stayed at the State Department for another year because I loved that job so much. But then the commuting back and forth between Pittsburgh and DC was a little bit much.
Did you drive often or just usually, yeah?
Well, he drove. I
And you
often took
flew.
I took the bus or the train, which takes twice as long as driving, but it's a
So like 10
delightful
hours?
experience.
Wow,
Like
okay.
an 8-hour train ride.
Okay. We're talking with Kinsey Casey, who is the Chief Operating Officer for the City of Pittsburgh. If you've been watching this interview, you know she has an incredible resume. And when we come back, we'll ask her about what she plans to do here in the City of Pittsburgh on CityTalk. Stay with us.
Hello, my name is Laura Dragowski from the Mayor's Office, and I'm here to tell you about BigBurg.com. We know lots of folks in our area are going through hard times, especially those experiencing homelessness. Let us show you how to get help. BigBurg.com is a web app that lists free, easy-to-use services in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. Introducing BigBurg.com. You can get to it from any browser like Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, or Safari on your smartphone, computer, or tablet. No downloads necessary. Here is BigBurg's opening page. You can make a For You selection to tailor results to match your gender identity or expression, age, veteran, immigrant, or family status. Not sure which selection to make? Choose All Services to see all listings. Here are some free resources you can find on BigBurg. Overnight shelters, places to go during the day to get out of bad weather, grab a meal, or get groceries and pet food. BigBurg will even help you with your job search, medical care, eye care, foot care, and STD clinics, free clothing, toiletries, and household supplies, places to take a shower and wash your clothes, and much more. All services are listed based on your location, so you'll see what's closest to you first, and you can change your location here. Need help right away? Call 911 in case of emergency. But you can check out the Safe Places and Hotlines button for the domestic violence and sexual assault hotlines, LGBTQIA safe places, needle exchange locations, veterans hotlines, and mental health crisis drop-in centers. If you find yourself on the street and in need of help, emergency shelter, medical assistance, a snack or a coat, or even just someone to talk to, press the Live Help button and then use Email Street Help to contact street outreach workers from places like 211, who will come to you wherever you are in Allegheny County. They can get back to you Monday through Saturday between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m., or you can call the 211 United Way helpline 24/7. BigBurg is completely anonymous. Even though a lot of different people use BigBurg, from caseworkers to police officers to community members, no personal information is recorded about the people accessing the site.
BigBurg.com helped me through my struggle. especially when I needed a place to stay at night, when I needed to find a meal during the day or during the night. When I finally got my place, Big Berg helped me find pantries during the day. And when I needed to do my laundry, I was able to use Big Berg in the map to do laundry downtown. Big Berg is extremely beneficial. I highly encourage anybody who's going through a hard time to use it.
Want to share some information about a service or your experience using BigBerg.com? Hit the feedback button at the bottom of any listing to send us a message. Get the help you need with BigBerg.com.
Welcome back to City Talk. We're here with Kinsey Casey, the new Chief Operating Officer for the City of Pittsburgh, or as they also might call her, the new Guy Costa, because you're taking over his old position, and he's obviously, as you have learned, undoubtedly a legendary figure, blamed for all incidents involving potholes and snow emergencies for decades. Do you have to take on those responsibilities as well, or can we blame Mike Gable at DPW or somebody else?
Or just Guy Costa.
Or Guy Costa still, why not, actually? Because he may have put the procedures and practices in place that still, according to some people, are not what they should be, and therefore, that's an excellent idea.
No, he's just a legend, so I'm not sure that those are some big shoes to fill, and I'm not sure that my feet will ever be big enough to fill those shoes.
But what are all the responsibilities? Because I'm sure everybody watching doesn't know. There are a myriad of responsibilities, I'm sure.
Sure. So I work with Dan Gilman, the Chief of Staff, and the Mayor, and we oversee the Department of Public Works. We oversee DOMI. Which is exciting, and figuring out how to get everyone to work together.
Remind me what that acronym stands
DOMI.
for.
It is the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you. And then also the Parks Department, Parks and Rec. I mean, we'll see what, and maybe there'll be some other namings going on. Who knows? I feel like I'm revealing too much.
They might be titling some departments?
We'll see. That's kind of fun,
Very
isn't
exciting.
it? It's very exciting.
For government people. I mean,
yeah. I think it's exciting. And then also the authorities of the Parking Authority and PWSA.
You know, I didn't even know all of that. Holy cow.
Thank you.
That's a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
What is taking up most of your time so far? Or is it just all of it?
All of it. It's a steep learning curve for me because, as you know, I'm not originally from here. And I have not worked in the city. I've obviously worked in government for a good part of my career, but not in this city specifically. So it's a steep learning curve. I'm learning a lot, and I'm getting to go around and see all the different divisions and departments and learning from them sort of what their greatest opportunities and challenges are.
So do you feel like this is a lot more hands-on? Obviously, your work was important before, but now you might be able to see how it affects average human beings.
Absolutely, and that's the exciting part about city government, I think, is, in the federal government, you can make big decisions that impact an awful lot of people, but you never really see on the ground how it's affecting them. And in the city, you absolutely see the impact that the city can have for the constituents. So it's a really exciting experience.
Is there anything you've learned so far that surprised you? Like, oh, that's how you fill a pothole, or whatever.
There's a lot, actually, that has surprised me. Snow plowing. I was at the heavy equipment, which I've learned is actually both big and small, including chainsaws go there to be repaired.
They have like bulldozers and chainsaws.
Exactly.
How about
Those
that?
guys are amazing.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of interesting things that I've learned along the way in the last couple of weeks.
Is there anything that's intimidating, or is that also just the whole thing?
No. It's not intimidating. It's just exciting. I love learning new things, and this is a great experience in order to do that. So
you really seem like the perfect person for the job, with a great resume, but also a great attitude. If I may be allowed to
Thank you.
say that.
Thank you.
Either that or you're really good at fooling people.
No, I'm having fun, and I love meeting new people, and I both love internal processes, but also getting to know how things operate and really talking to everyone about sort of, what they could see that they could improve and what their greatest challenges are too.
Seriously, that's a challenge, right?
For sure,
Because you're saying it's a steep learning curve. And,
absolutely.
But then again, a fresh set of eyes might be just what the doctor orders.
Sure, I ask a lot of questions.
I bet you do.
I do. And I think you learn a lot from asking questions about how things work.
And how do you find the workforce? Are they very forthcoming? Are they?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. At least they have been so far. So hopefully they'll continue. It's the best way to learn.
Now, have you met many humans just around the city, civilians?
Oh yeah.
And what do they say? What do they ask you about?
Oh, most of them ask me to make sure that their street is plowed.
Okay.
That has been the number one thing.
Wow, and then winter is upon us, and
Yeah.
In the not too distant future,
I
that'll be
know.
a huge issue.
It will be. I grew up in Montana where
Oh, okay.
there's a lot of snow. It's winter 8 months a year there, so.
So it might be hard for you to accept the whining of people like me who whine when there's a couple inches of snow. Yeah.
Although it is very different capabilities. When it snows every day and it snows a foot.
You have to have
get
more resources? And,
Well, more resources, you also have a car that can drive in that kind of
oh,
snow.
okay,
and
right, because you're not going to buy a car that can't. Yeah.
Correct. And that's, I learned to drive when there's a foot of snow on the ground. So you're just used to it. And when it doesn't snow that much, particularly in the East Coast or in the South, you have bigger problems.
So what do you see as your biggest challenge going forward?
I think the biggest challenge, at least for me in the short term, is just learning all the facets of the city and being able to identify areas in which I can help improve processes or ways of moving things more effectively and efficiently forward.
Because that's a big priority of the mayor's office in general, is it not? And the city in general is process improvement. How can we do stuff faster?
That's right.
How can we do it more efficiently?
Yeah, and finding out what the challenges are to doing that.
And I imagine some of the challenges are immense.
Absolutely. They always are. But that's what makes it interesting.
Kinsey Casey, I know you actually have something important to do, so we'll let you go, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being on the program.
Appreciate it.
And that is this edition of City Talk. We'll see you next time.